Hey Stephanie, how you doing?
Hey Chuck, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Hey, I had a quick question for you. Can you explain to me how Capture Process Designer integrates with workflow?
Sure, I'd be happy to show you. Let me just share my screen.
Okay, thanks.
I have already built Capture Process as an example, which takes in email imports and scan swept documents. There are a couple of ways which we can integrate workflow into this capture process using Capture Process Designer. 1. Transition documents from the capture process into workflow, and 2. Add documents from workflow into the capture process. We will start with transitioning documents from the capture process into workflow. We are going to start by adding a custom processing step right here at the bottom between Advanced Capture Processing and Awaiting Commit, so that the documents will be added to workflow after the Advanced Capture Processing has complete. We want to give this a name that lets us know where we'll be sending it, so we can name it AP Check Process Workflow after the name of our lifecycle. In the Properties pane, we can check the Send to Workflow checkbox and select from the drop-down list which lifecycle we would like to send it to, in this case, AP Checks Processed. One step we shouldn't forget as a best practice is that whenever you're sending documents to workflow, they need to be in a status of indexed. So under Change Document, we're going to check Change Document Status, and from the Document Statuses dropdown, we will select Indexed. Additionally, we want to ensure that the status has been changed before the document is sent to workflow, which we can do by pressing the Process Order button at the bottom, select the Change Document Status, and drag and drop it above the Send to Workflow action. If we had any more actions being run on this step, they can also be reordered using the Process Order dialog. Also in the Properties pane for this step, we have the option to change the document type and execute any scripts on the document before it is sent to workflow. To finish up this part of the integration, we need to connect the Advanced Capture Processing to the Checks Process Workflow step, and connect the Checks Process Workflow step to the Awaiting Commit step. Under the Capture Process Designer category, above the top ribbon, we can select the Design tab where Evaluator is located. We'll select the evaluator and drag it from Advanced Capture Process to Checks Process Workflow. Because we want all documents to automatically go from the Advanced Capture Process to the workflow, we'll go ahead and check the Add Default Evaluator checkbox. Every scan queue needs to have an awaiting commit step for the documents to get committed and removed from the scan queue. So after we add the documents to the workflow, we can go ahead and send them to this awaiting commit step. We will take another evaluator and drag it from Checks Process Workflow to Awaiting Commit. For this evaluator, we won't be selecting Add Default Evaluator because we need to make sure that our documents have the index status, otherwise our batch will fail to commit. So we open the Type drop-down menu, select Document Status, then select the Index checkbox. With how our current capture process is set up, documents will come in, go through doc prep, and go through Advanced Capture Processing. After Advanced Capture Processing finishes, they will be sent to our workflow lifecycle and leave the capture process. The other Capture Designer process integration with workflow I would like to cover is adding documents from workflow into a capture process. To get documents to import from workflow, we'll need to add another import step to our capture process, which we can name AP Workflow Import. Under Import Types, we'll select only Workflow Import. The way I have my current Advanced Capture process set up is that it only works on image documents. Since documents coming from workflow can be many non-image types, I'm going to want to add an image processing step to convert these documents to images. So we can go ahead and add an image processing step below the Workflow Import step, which we will name AP Workflow to Image. Under the Image Processing section, we will open the Add drop-down menu and select Convert Documents to Image File Format. To route the documents from Workflow Import to Workflow to Image, we'll add an evaluator, which we can make the default. Any documents coming in from Workflow will automatically go through the image conversion. However, if the documents coming in from Workflow are already images, we can go ahead and skip the image processing. So we can add an evaluator from the Workflow import to DocPrep. Under the Type drop-down menu, we will select File Type and check the Image checkbox. Image documents coming in from Workflow will now skip the image processing and go straight to DocPrep. To get the workflow to send the documents to the capture process, we'll need to go into our workflow and add an action. I want it to automatically happen to documents when they enter the initial queue of the workflow, so once they enter the queue, I put a timer that goes off every 5 minutes. Under this timer, I will add that action. I'm going to call it Send to AP Check Processing. For the action type, we will select Add Document to Scan Queue Process. And under the scan queue, we will put our AP check processing and select the workflow import step as our status step. So every 5 minutes, this timer will go off and send any documents in the initial queue to our check processing capture process. Something to keep in mind is that when a document is sent to a capture process from workflow, it doesn't actually leave the workflow. So once it leaves the capture process, it will still be in the workflow. More information on integrating Capture Process Designer with Workflow can be found in the Workflow Emergy or on Highland Community.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. If you have a question that you would like answered on an upcoming question corner, please leave a comment below.